to stream. I am whispering because there are two little babies who are very asleep. Not right over there. So I'm just gonna have to get right up on this mic. So we'll see how they do tonight. Otherwise, let's get into some Brilliant Diamond. No, Brilliant Diamond Shining. It is Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. What am I saying? I was like double second up. Second guessing myself. You see that? All right, we are here. We're here. I don't know why we are here. Forget what I was doing last time I was playing. Let's see. Warburg. Oh yes. Okay. Do I need... Okay, just out of habit, we're gonna go to... Hi, Chris! How's it going? I miss your face. You caught me. You caught me. It's always good. How was your Tuesday, Chris? What's going on? We dyed hair. The hair is now very red again, and I'm very happy with it. It's all glorpy and stuff around the hairline, but... Oh, I guess I was trying to get some water Pokemon. Oh, I guess that's the thing. I need to pull that Magikarp out. Oh, I do have that Magikarp. Okay, good. Hello! Oops. Hi, Sean. Family stuff 15. Splitting time between parents. Oh. Very fun. Alright. I'm gonna go level grind this poor Magikarp until it... Yeah, we're gonna swap. Nope. There it is. Okay, there's the order. It's good. Close up of the dyed. All right, hang on. It's very red. It's also dark in this room. But we went like the full purpley sort of red to kind of counteract the copper that's already in my hair. So yeah, it is fully red. Like, we'll do this. Very, very red. Very saturated. Very pleased with how it turned out. Unfortunately, I also got the undercut done. We tried doing the like the shaved patches. It did not turn out great, as you can see. You know, the shaved patches did not turn out great on the sides of my head. It's very patchy. So probably gonna have to go in and try that again on those spots. But I'm not mad at it. It's just, I think there's some Vaseline got into those areas and made it difficult. So thank you. I'm glad you guys like it. I'm pretty happy with it too. I love having crazy colored hair. It is lots and lots of fun. Oh, I'm gonna really quick. I know a lot of people. Nope. I know a lot of people like the music in this. I'm actually going to turn it off because we're listening to other music, but I'm going to keep the other sound effects and stuff kind of cranked. Go. Okay. I'm gonna duck that slightly because it is a little loud still. All right, come fight me. There it is. All right, let's get this poor little Magikarp. Undercut always looks a little, yeah. Yeah. And I, like, my hairdresser got it down super duper low in the back with like a nice, like, sharp V. And so, like, oh, this is the remaster. This is Pearl, Brilliant Diamond. I'm actually playing Diamond. It's still 14 against us, so punch. This is the Steph. I must share it because it was a bit of epic. My Google News just gave me Expecto Go and Johnny Depp. Expecto Go and Johnny. What? What in the world is happening? Hold up. Ooh, I have not been on Discord all day. Hi, Steph. How was your Tuesday? I am confused and launching Discord right now. Ooh, scheduling events. I need to do that. What? Show you on Discord. Okay. Then it becomes real life Jack Sparrow owns Pirates of the Caribbean island? What? They do look it, don't they, Sean? World? That is oh my goodness. That's a news feed. That's one of those things where I was like, one day I opened up, YouTube, and both Lynette and Philip DeFranco were making the exact same face in their thumbnail, and I was like, oh, it's about to be a weird Tuesday. Listen, oh boy. It's always entertaining to see what your creator peeps are doing. Yeah, no, yeah, okay. Yeah, Sean, I see what you're seeing here. Oh my goodness gracious. Jinx. So, we're still on our playthrough. We're not doing any shiny hunting or anything. Cool. Thank you very much. I'm very happy with that. How's your Tuesday, Steph? Wabam. My dad shared new beer with me. Just sipping on beer and playing Pokemon. We're just doing hot girl shit. Excuse me. Ooh. Ooh. Control. Connect. Roll. There it goes. I need to get a different cord for this. The 8-bit controllers are great, but something about my house specifically ruins cord. Fuck you, Starlace. Your revamped Pidgey. Don't need revamped Pidgey. Punch that bird. God. Oh, is everybody ready for Thanksgiving? Cause I'm not mentally ready yet. Been long. Just finished your Guilty Pleasure TV. Yes. Redeem your soul with news. Listen. No, procrastinate on news. The news is fucking depressing. Let's hang out and play Pokemon instead. Let's avoid the news and play Pokemon instead. Oh, good girl. The Pro Plus are excellent, but no, they won't turn on the Switch. They won't. You have to get up and manly do it. That is a proprietary, like, locked-in thing with the Pro controllers for Nintendo. They have that locked in for reasons to keep you coming back and buying those proprietary ones. You may, okay, so I was having that trouble too. I updated my firmware. The firmware updater thing is insanely easy to use with the 8-bit dos. So go update your firmware first, and then, like, all of a sudden I don't have to resync every time I try to use my 8-bit do with my Switch. Go update your firmware. Pecan paste. Oh, are made extra nuts for other dishes. Toasted and waiting. Oh, Steffi over here doing it right. It's my family again. I've been in charge of green bean casserole for a while, and I don't mind. I actually quite like it. I do my I do like a brown mushroom gravy from scratch because I think it's delicious. So I'm gonna do my brown mushroom gravy. There's gonna be some cranberries in there. There's gonna be the green onions in there, or the fried onions on top. I'm so excited. We're gonna pull a fast one. We're gonna throw some miso in the gravy because I'm feeling rebellious and we gotta get all that umami up in there. In this house we use aka miso. There's nothing wrong if you like shiro or white miso. We use red miso in this house. Aka, it's funky, it's umami. And I sneak miso in wherever I can because it's fucking delicious. I love me some aka miso, just sneaky miso, you know? Sneaky beach miso. So, and my mom just put hers into brine. She does a longer brine on hers because that's just how she likes to roll. A million things needed to start today right though. And then it doesn't help that there's also like the Animal Crossing event, and I'm like, I should pre-fish so that it's not like a 4-hour thing of me sitting there being like, I need this one fish, goddamn. Although the last ones were pretty good about like getting the fish that you needed fairly quickly. So I did, what did I do today? Pre-fish. Yeah, there's fishing, there's dishes for Turkey Day that are gonna require fish. So a lot of people will fish prematurely so that they have everything on hand. Last year you needed like dab, you needed some of the mollusks. What else did you need? Barred knife jaw, I think, was another one. Oh my goodness, smoked turkey, excuse you. Right, I've got a couple in storage that are for like various, yeah, look up the event that nobody has guides yet because it's time locked. So the actual event, like the update, will go out at midnight on Thursday, and then we'll actually get like the event details. So people will put out their guides really quick on Thursday, so you know exactly what you need, but you're probably, Starling wants to, let's see what this is. Your normal type move. Mackerel, snapper, mussels, oysters, yeah. You're gonna want to go diving. You're gonna want to go fishing and stuff. You're gonna want to have pumpkins on hand. You're gonna want to have lots of pumpkins on hand. I already have lots. We don't know what the new, like the 2.0 Turkey Day is gonna look like though, and you might need Santa hat. Did I switch to Santa hat stuff now? Oh my goodness, it's adorable. There might be new stuff with the 2.0 update where you need more, yeah, lots of the veggies and stuff. You might need to have flour on hand ready to go. So Sean, if you have just unlocked Brewster, you may have that DIY. All those DIYs, all those new DIYs should allegedly be in your Nook Stop. If you haven't checked your Nook Stop for your cooking stuff, you're gonna want to do that. Be-doof. Be-doof. Yeah, like flour and sugar and stuff. Me too, because if you sell the wheat and sugar as flour, it's more. Don't have Brewster. I thought you had the ellipsis. I thought you had Thinking Brewster earlier. Or sorry, not Brewster. Blathers. He'll come tomorrow for you. Oh man. Okay. No, that's all right. Yeah, get that and then get well, here's the thing though. Because you're new to the game and you don't have, if you don't have cooking yet, it's not gonna lock you out of the event. It may just give you an old version of the event, which isn't a problem. I think it should just give you a modified version. It's super cute. This is Brilliant Diamond and Pearl. I'm just grinding out. I'm trying to get right now I'm trying to get a Gyarados. I don't know how long this is gonna take. Level up. We're just letting everybody get their XP in so that I can go to this gym. I need water types so bad. This game apparently has absolutely fuck all for fire types, so I'm super glad I grabbed Monferno as my starter. But I'm also like, oh, but Turtwig is so cute. Piplup, like there's no denying that Piplup is an adorable starter. Turtwig though. Just gonna absolutely incinerate. Sorry, not sorry. Breath of the Wild. Get to Ganondorf. I am terrible about playing Breath of the Wild, and I need to finish it. I skipped all over the super effective moves in favor of this, but who cares? Oh, can I start Ganon? I'm too ADHD for that game. I swear to God. Swear to God. Sean knows I still don't have a fucking horse yet in Breath of the Wild. He's so frustrated with me. We'll get to Breath of the Wild someday, you know? First we have to play fucking Pokemon, and then I think, you know, there's other cozy games to explore. So, you know, we'll do this. OOT? I'm missing something. Ocarina of Time. Oh my God. That took me way too fucking long. That took me way too fucking long. Sean.
Hashtag giddy up.
Thank you for the videos, Sean. Oh, not Breath of the Wild or Ocarina of Time. Wow, look at you go, Steph. Look at you go. Love it. It took me way too long to get that was Ocarina of Time, not Breath of the Wild. I was like, wow, everybody's phones are glitching. I'm like, spelling Breath of the Wild really weird. Someone help me. Someone help me. Oh, this is gonna take me a long time, isn't it? Oh, I'm just gonna run around this teeny tiny patch of leaves. Wind Waker was also a blast. Apparently that's an unpopular opinion. Only people do not like Wind Waker. I like Bing. It's Pirate Link. What's not to love? I don't know. Nice, Chris. Very nice. Oh gosh, okay. Hello, Charlie. I don't know if it's ever going to be an on-stream thing. It may be an off-stream, just like weird hyperfixation thing that happens. That's another thing that I need to do. I need to throw my weird hyperfixation stuff into Discord. Like, we just need to have a channel for like, what is the thing that you are obsessed with and like can't stop doing? That might have to be a thing that we do. Like lately, it's been just like, we'll see if we want to forget Harden. Oh no, we're good. Lately, in 2021. Actually, you know what? It's still legit. It's still a legit good game. I cannot wait for whatever is next. Like whatever the sequel is for this, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be fantastic. Anywho's, I was saying a thing. So like mostly lately I've just been like binging Dungeons and Dragons streams on YouTube, and that's been like super duper great. I've been super enjoying that. But then today I was like, okay, I gotta take a break from my current like Dungeons and Dragons campaign. It's getting a little dark, it's getting a little heavy. Like I need to switch and do something else for a bit. As happens, I just need something a little lighter. A palate cleanser. I got sucked in to watching, like, you know, there's so many of them in years. That's really great. I got sucked into watching this, literally, like, she's 112 pounds soaking wet Korean girl, and she walks into these mom and pop shops in South Korea, or like restaurants and stuff, orders like 8 people's worth of food and just demolishes it. I watched this woman literally 112 pounds soaking wet, eat burgers this big. She ate 10 of them, 4 orders of fries, and drank 4 Cokes, and she's tiny. Death by Daylight theme? That is super cool. That is super cool. Love that. Oh, Dead by Daylight is just bad and hilarious to watch. I'm just like Hollow Legs, like extreme mukbangs. Like this girl literally walked in to a sushi house and ordered like 100 servings of sushi and just ate it, and then ordered the tempura udon. And I'm just like, how? Like, how did you do that? It's impressive. It is absolutely impressive. So we might have to put like a hyperfixation channel in the Discord, just to like I'll post my weird hyperfixation thing in there. Oh yeah, no, she has like ridiculous amount of subscribers, and she's got her own like South Korean food show, like the food shows where they like look at the food and they go, whoa! Like they do like the crazy things where they like the super exaggerated everything, which I love all of that. And like weirdly watching her just sit there and eat is like super relaxing. So like I roasted pumpkin for pumpkin pie today and like did the dishes and stuff just like while watching her, and I'm like, how? Also, I really want jjajangmyeon. I want jjajangmyeon so bad. It's insanity. It's absolute insanity. Pardon me, I'm just gonna sit here and destroy small birds. Just destroy the ecological system of this entire community. I don't know either. It's like, how? What? It's just absolute hollow leg syndrome. It's insanity. Right? I ate half a serving of mac and cheese and my dad made some steak and I ate some of that, and I didn't eat, like, I like grabbed one of the bones and ate all of the things off, like one of the T-bones, and that's what I ate for dinner. And like, of course now I'm having chips and like a dark beer, but yeah. Oh, my metabolism might be kind of fucked up because of beers now. Like, I cannot. And she's super cute, and she's like visiting all these places, like specifically the ones that I was checking out were the ones that were like her visiting these little places during COVID where like they don't have any customers because they are around a university and everybody's doing things remote, and so they're not getting all of their business. And so she goes and orders like $300 worth of food, and they're like, okay. Chinese ladies channel. I love that. I do eat like a bird. I really do. It's ridiculous. I love food. I'm very food motivated, but I don't eat it. And now I'm just like put to shame where I'm like, I need to start like fucking finishing my food. Like, can you stop doing this? It's also the problem where like, okay, that was really good. Okay, I'm bored. Let's go do something else. Like, I'm not even necessarily full all the time. It's like, sit the fuck down and eat. I know I'm not full, but I feel like I'm full and I need to go and do something else. It's like that bad ADHD thing where like you don't eat. Liziki? Oh man. Okay, yeah. We're putting a hyperfixation channel in the Discord. That'll be fun. Cause like sharing everybody's like, what's your new YouTube obsession? What's your new gaming obsession? What are you learning about that you just need to brain dump at somebody about? It's all very like cathartic, like I just need to share this thing that I am now into with somebody. Like, it's good to do that. Oh, hey, did we just get an Aberchain? Excuse you, who is she? Getting an Aberchain. All the things, right? Yeah, no, you just gotta like, I learned this thing, or I found this thing, and this is the thing I'm doing currently right now, and just like brain dump, and just so everybody can be like, ooh, what's passion again? Life crashed over. Oof, that was too real, man. Come on now. Goddamn. Soup and bread, right? Soup and bread. Like, oh. But then there's my oldest who ate, like, he ate all his steak, he ate all his mac and cheese. He even, like, absolutely just, my mom made fresh made focaccia bread tonight. Oh my god, my mom and her baking, just like this sheet of focaccia bread that she tops up like a pizza, freaking like an artisan fucking pizza. And just, he absolutely destroys like 2 pieces of that too, and he's just like, hell yeah. And I'm like, damn kid, nicely done. Just destroyed dinner. It was great. Yeah, really great soup and bread. You're just like, oh gosh. You get like partway through and you like feel the stomach ache coming on. You're like, why I'm getting a stomach ache because I'm worried I'm not gonna finish it. Oh right, my mom's focaccia bread is fucking amazing. I cannot with my mom's focaccia. She's very, like, just insanely talented bread baker. She just whips out these, she's like, oh, I just made some focaccia. I'm like, just totally whipped out from some focaccia with like some Kalamata olives and like garlic cheese and like soup's cash, mom. Like delicious gourmet level shit she's whipping out. Oh, and by the way, just soups casually, she puts sausage under the skin of her turkey. This woman is insane. This is why I cook the way I do, is because of her. And I'm just like, I am so extra and it's all because of you, and I'm not actually mad at it, but also like, goddamn. Did I tell y'all? I made galbitang for my grandma, who she's born and raised in Oklahoma, and then she moved up here. Not super into like really crazy, like she'll eat curries and stuff like that, and she's down with most things and stuff, but like if I were to bring in like budae jjigae or like really crazy Korean or Japanese food, she'd be like not down with that. I made her galbitang and she liked it, which is like a pork rib soup, and then we did the whole thing with like sam and eating it with like some spicy sauce and like the lettuce wraps and stuff, and she was into it, and I was like, nicely done, grandma. Like this is food that is kind of intimidating for a lot of people. This is not the most intimidating food, but I made her galbitang and she liked it. So there was even yam noodles in it. I didn't have daikon radish, but I had yam noodles. So cayenne pickle brine. That sounds amazing. I am so excited to hear how that turns out, Steph. Oh my goodness. I have a feeling everybody's like food channels on Discord are just gonna light up this weekend, and I'm living for it. Like, send me all of the beautiful food that y'all are eating so I can sit here and drool. And even though I'm enjoying some amazing fucking food, I'm still gonna be like, oh, but they have this. I'm a little jelly. Like, that's all. I'm just gonna be that like this whole weekend. Living for it. So excited to be jealous of other people's food, even though I'm eating everything. And then immediately being like, let's go get some pho this weekend. Like, I'm gonna go fuck up some pho. The answer to what do you want to eat is always pho. Like, I would destroy a bowl of pho right now, and I'm like, I'm good, but I would mess up a bowl of pho. Wish. Here's the thing, I don't really like turkey either. I like my mom's turkey, but she does it like very specifically. I think she's gonna spatchcock it again this year, which spatchcocking just means you like remove the spine and then like butterfly the whole bird out so that it cooks properly and shit. You also get a nice crispy skin that way, which I might just be eating only turkey skin this holiday season, and I'm not even mad at it because good crispy skin. Oh girl. Prime rib. Yeah, listen. I have to make it in turkey. Smoked and brined. Yeah. I mean, how are you gonna say no to that? Are you gonna say no to like smoked and brined bird? Excuse you. Good. So freaking good. But also, like, let's be honest, we live for the stuffing. We live for the stuffing and the mashed potatoes because it is carb time. Sorry. I will mess up my vegetables. I will eat them until I explode every other, but when it is just Thanksgiving, it's time to fuck up some carbs. It's a gamey meat. What are you gonna do? Steph's like, can I come over? Grilled lobster tails? Are you kidding me? I'll bring garlic mash and... Sean, you've never had lobster? Sean. Sean? Are you okay? Sean? Street, we gotta get this man some lobster. Steph. Nah. No, girl. I'm telling Street, we're gonna make some lobster that's just gonna absolutely mess everybody up. Listen, crab up here is great. This is where people go to get crab. People risk their lives to fish crab up here. Never had lobster? Are you kidding me? We even have lobster up here. Like that are out in the ocean. How? Like how though? We gotta do like a surf and turf night where like make like ridiculously good steak and lobster, and like I just because we gotta be bougie that way, we're gonna do like lobster and shrimp, or we're gonna do like shrimp and scallops, but we're gonna do them like Korean style in like a super spicy sauce, and they're all gonna be like kind of grilled and stuff. Listen. We'll do some seafood sumbudu jjigae with like steak and lobster and shit. Oh my god. Oh my god. Sumbudu jjigae. Just never made it happen. Listen, it's all good. It's all good. Now I just, of course I want sumbudu jjigae, silken tofu soup with like all of the seafood shit in it. And like specifically from Wonjo up here, because all of their stuff that they make, I swear to God, is they do it with like pork broth, and it's all so it's lobster is so, like such a ridiculous, like it's sea cockroaches, or sorry, scorpions. Shrimps are sea cockroaches, like literally, and the only reason they're popular is because rich people found out that they were good. They used to be poor people food. It used to be like, I don't understand. It's so weird. Like food is fucking weird. Like pretty much like all shellfish and crustaceans and stuff like that. Like all of that was poor people food. It was the stuff on the bottom. Like the rich people just wanted the white meaty fish. Haven't gotten to that one. Interesting that that's the one that's like on the bot. New England prison food. There's literally laws in New England against feeding prisoners lobster more than 2 times a week because it's considered like a bad punishment. Those are still on the books because they just haven't been written out. Like, it's insanity. And now it's insanely popular. I feel like though, just because I am that person, I don't want to do just like the tails. Like the tails are delicious, but I want to do the whole damn thing. Like I want to do the whole damn thing. Like we're gonna do like this. We're going to break out our Julia Shield mastering the art of French cooking, and we're going to do it properly. We're going to make sure that the lobster is fresh. We will make sure that there is a very good how you say hollandaise, yeah. Oh, conch. Listen. Conch. Love it so much. For me, white tuna, fatty white. It's literally just like tuna fat. It's from the belly of the tuna, and I get it every single time I can. Every single time I see it on a sushi menu, I'm like, I need a pair of white tuna. I need red snapper. Oh, and I need some uni, because uni. Listen, you have not had crab until you've hauled it out of the Bering Sea and then slapped it into your mouth. Like, just haven't. Oh, Alaskan cod. Alaskan cod's delicious, but like, But have you, okay, so cod's great. Cod is delicious. Have you had Alaskan halibut though? Like Alaskan halibut fish and chips? Like, listen, no, cod's good. No, cod's really good. But like fresh halibut, like, oh my goodness. Like all of the pubs up here that have Alaskan, oh my goodness. Steph, you ever get up here? I'm gonna take you places. And we're gonna go get ourselves some halibut fish and chips. And a good old Alaskan beer. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Listen. For my grandma's 80th birthday, we did a whole fish fry, and we invited like so many people over, and we had just ridiculous amounts of halibut that we were Starlead's evolving, that we were deep frying out back. And I was just hanging out with an old family friend of ours, Mr. Venhouse, having King Street Irish Stout and like pulling salmon and halibut out of the fryer, like as like a hot thing. Like Dad was, dishing them out, and we were just grabbing those. They're way too hot to fucking eat. And just eating them. It was so good. Little shack on the dock. That's the best. That is the best. Love just like, there's one place in particular in Whittier that my grandpa Pete swore by. I've had their fish and chips. We went like the day that we went to spread his ashes out in Whittier, and it was great. It was super good. It was like, yeah, gonna go on a boat ride and then eat fish and chips, and this is how we're gonna celebrate my grandpa. And that was pretty great. I just punched a bird again. I have to take my Pokemon back because I'm running out of moves. Oof. The native foods, listen. Ooh. Ooh. When you do things when you don't have refrigeration 3 months out of the year, I mean the rest of the year, the whole place is a refrigeration. I will let them fight. Listen. There's some native foods that just like, stop. Why are you doing chiseling? Oh God. Oh no. Okay, now we're going down the rabbit hole. I'm scared. Oh, chitterlings. Oh, chitterlings. No, I know what chitterlings are. It's just fried. Yeah. Not fried, but yeah. No, that's totally fine. It's just, it's tripe. I've had basically the Mexican version of that. It's menudo. Do not recommend. Smells like licking a barnyard. Not a fan. For me. That's pretty weird. There's there's like some stuff that is like literally rotten, as Sean is saying, in native cuisine. Like, it's like this stuff is you can only eat this if it literally rots. Definition of weird flex, but okay. Like, are y'all alright? Like, hello? Chitterlings are cool. Probably would not eat though, because I've had tripe. Don't recommend it. It is not my fave. Moose head soup. Brains are real good for you. People, I don't know. One of these days, and we have to get a moose again. It's been so long since we've gotten a moose. Me and Dad are gonna make Alaskan haggis, and gonna take all the offal and do all the things that you would normally do with sheep. making haggis, and we're gonna do it with moose, which, like, moose stomach, big. Fully understand that. I'm still gonna do it though, just because. Gonna do it for the vine. Cause moose haggis, fuck not. Lots of places have hogshead cheese, pig brains, eggs with ketchup. There's a lot of haggis. I fully realize this. Hogshead cheese, delicious. Pig's brains and eggs with ketchup. Uh-oh. Too early for that. Too early for that. What are we doing here? The gnarled stuff, listen, the gnarled stuff. It's a whole thing. Whole thing. Thank you so much for hanging out, Sean. Odd traditions do make for rich culture. It's true. Thanks for hanging out, Sean. Hope you have a good day tomorrow. Oh. Love you. Happy Thanksgiving. There is going to be a Happy Thanksgiving stream. We're gonna do it. We're gonna be playing through the event in Animal Crossing. So, see you guys then. Also, there's gonna be a stream tomorrow, except we're gonna be doing Stardew because I need to get caught up in Stardew.
Hashtag gobble gobble.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it. Oh, heavens, Murgatroyd. When? Let's see here. Level 20. Oh my goodness. I should have been grinding this a long time ago. Oh, and yeah, 3 a.m. My goodness. Sleep next Friday. Who needs sleep? Well, thank you for hanging out, Steph. I super appreciate you. Your swipes? Nope. May the force be with you and your... No? No. May the force be with you all as you get your Thanksgiving food ready. Because holy buckets. The rest of us, we're just gonna hang out and try to do that. Hell yeah. Wham. You hear that? Because if we can get one water type in this rock type gym, that'll make our lives significantly easier. And I mean, obviously having Gyarados. Oh. Oh. Okay. Shoot, do I not have that screen? Might not. All right. Oop. Oh, there it is. Okay. Ooh, we got worried. We got worried. Another Abra, though. Gonna punch this guy again. Wham. Oh. Probably here's... Oh, well, no. We're hitting, like, level 4 stuff. Maybe we can rearrange our party so that the XP is solely getting dumped into... Let's see. Let's see how this goes for us. I highly doubt this will be a good plan. We're going to do it anyway. Yes, we are. This is a bad idea. What is this man doing? What is he doing? Splash. What is that? Bad. Yep. This man knows nothing. He knows nothing. Guess we're gonna waste a move on this. Who cares? Fine. Don't light the bug on fire. Wham. Alright, well. It's a strategy. I don't think I like it, but it's a strategy. Here we go. Another Abra. Hello, Abra. I'm going to light you on fire. Is that okay with you? Oop, we can't play this. If you try to. Oh, okay. Well, guys, it is top of the hour, which means it's actually time for a bio break, and I also very much need to go use the bathroom. So I'm gonna see y'all back here in about 5 minutes. We're pulling the car over for me, which means you also need to get out and do some stuff, which means you need to go and go to the bathroom and get your water, get your snack, get your wiggles out, do what you need to do. We're gonna come back here in 5. Otherwise, enjoy some music. I'll see you back here in 5 minutes. See you in a bit. sorry. I had to go put on some lotion and a bunch of other stuff. My face is so tight and itchy. It is so freaking dry up here. Cannot. There it is. It's just been days of insanely cold and insanely dry up here, and oh, the skin is feeling it. Ooh. Ow. My hand. Desk. Hopefully. I have no idea. I have no idea if we're gonna get to this tonight. Probably do it with what I have. No, I can't, because that magic harp is not gonna do it. I should have ground this off stream, and I did not think to do that. Gotta make sure I keep hydrating because I dyed my hair today. So I need to like process. But I'm very happy with it. I'm very, very happy with the color. Gonna have to do the ends again, I think. Those turned out kind of not great, but you know. Also, they're so dry. So I might just pull out a whole thing of that and let it soak on my ends for a bit. Also thinking about just dyeing my hair like this more often. Like I do it every once in a while. I do like a super but every single time I'm like, oh, my hair feels so much better. It feels like got like a nice long lasting treatment on it. But you know, I think I could do it more often and then my hair would be just a little bit nicer, a little bit shinier. Ooh, feeling a little better, you know? Ooh. I gotta move on to a different grass place. Oh, hello. How do we get up there? Whoops. Can we get up there? Doof, get out of my way. Bam. No problem. Okay, this is what we're here for. Wham. Ooh, we got found a big old patch of grass up here, so probably. I cannot wait to get like a clothes shop in this game. Oof, oof, y'all better look out. She's gonna be looking snatched. So excited. So excited. Oof. Repel. Hey. Don't want that right now. We are here to destroy everything. Or crickets. Ooh. Thing upstairs. Inching, just absolutely inching our way there now. Ugh. Ugh. Oof. Ow. My chair and shoved my toe into my desk. Help. Ooh. Oof. Okay, this is a better patch. This is a better patch of grass, obviously. Ooh. Punch birds. Punch birds. Okay, there we go. Always figuring things. I'm actually legitimately curious if we could go to the rock type gym and just beat it right now. I have a feeling like at this point, like my type doesn't particularly matter because I'm a level 16 on Inferno. Let's just, yeah. I'm just gonna fully pop off and go try this gym just because. Oops. What do we got? What do we got? What is it? Zuby it. Oh no. Should not be yawning that much already. Okay, here we go. This is a terrible idea. We're going anyway. Everybody look the fuck out. Yeah, we already did the first little dude. Here we go. I have Rock Break on my Monferno. I have a lot of fighting moves on my Monferno. Look at him with his little... What is that? What is that martial art that like specifically uses like that down fist? Oh. That's gonna bug me. Totally forget. What is that martial art? It's like a very specific one. I don't. Oh well. Ooh. We're gonna keep it up with Monferno because Monferno is not steering us wrong. Excuse you. Onyx, not a problem. Level 8. Hello. Being a level 16 Rock Smash. Wham! I think we're gonna be fine, ladies and gents. I don't know why I overthought this for like 3.5 days. Why am I like this? Whew, that's some spicy XP. Very spicy. Good night, Irene. Oh, extra spicy. Urshinx. Oh, it's so cute. It's so cute. Yes, Luxio. Cute. Very cute. Look at him. Just ready to rumble. Rourke. Here we go. Oh. Work just feels like super wholesome. Like hard working dude just trying to like have fun doing his thing, mentoring kids, you know? He feels like kind of like weird guy who kind of still mentors your kid. You're like, he's not creepy, so we're probably fine. Okay. Ooh, that rollout though. Excuse you. I've been super in my head about these gym battles just because I've heard that the Diamond and Pearl gym leaders are pretty, like, they're pretty beefy. Like, they're kind of some of the tougher gym leaders that you can encounter in a Pokemon game, which we love. We love that. Okay, Stealth Rock. He does have Stealth Rock. Good. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Everything is the same. Let's roll that dice. It's good. It was really good. It was a really good hit. Okay. Help. Way to go, Magikarp. Everybody's leveling up. Look at this. Look at this. Cranidos. Okay, I'm good. I think I'm good. Yes, I can. Yes, I can, sir. Here. Okay. Cranidos is a different type. Okay. That wasn't even a crit. Oh, no. I don't know why I was stressing about that, thinking I had to do all this level grinding and shit. Why did I think that? Why did I think that? This is embarrassing. Hi. Listen, you're the first guy that I can hit up on this. Like, oh. Thank you, buddy. Callback. Good. Thank you. Ooh, what do I got? Stealth Rock. Yes. Stickers. Stickers! I'm sorry. Fucking love stickers. Stickers are the bomb down. Thank you, Rourke. I'm gonna go heal my Pokemon and never come back here. It's great. It's fine. This is just what we're doing. Is that understood? Okay, cool. Nurse Joy, thank you, madam. She is the best. We can all agree that Nurse Joy is the absolute fucking best. Yes, we are resting our Pokemon. Thank you very much. Just hardworking lady right here. Look at her go. You love to see it. You. See you again. Do we have we have the underground unlocked? Oh, hello. Right this way, please. Okay. Tila, do you have... Oh, Tila. Hello, I'm glad to meet you. My name is Tila, and I'm your guide to the Pokemon Global Club. You have a paid Nintendo... Oh, this is our... Okay, this is... Oh, yes. Uni room, pass the Y button. What is that? You can enter a global room. 2 counters on the left. Or was it? Okay. Trades. Okay, cool. Do I want to battle today or do I want to trade? Okay, that's gonna be a thing. It's not the underground, but that's okay, cause we got through it. Okay. Yikes. Super big yikes. Okay, there it is. Alright. Now what? We're on 203. Sorry, no. Yeah, 203. 204 is that way. Oh, okay, we're gonna go back the other way then, I guess. Oh, hello. Can you stop running into me, Barry? My God, man. Like, get a hold of your shit. Yeah, I guess. So yeah, I went to Route 207, but you can't go through it without a bike. My team toughened them up, so it wasn't a wait. Whoa. This boy is hyper fixated, but like we love a good ADHD hyperfixation. It's good for everyone involved. Got through that cave, I think, for the first time without getting hit. So we need a bike. We can't get through this without a bike. Just gonna full tilt. Where's the bikes? Where's the bikes? Does anybody know where the bikes is? Jubilife. No. This is not. Is this Jubilife? This is Jubilife. Where's the bikes? Where's the bikes? This isn't it. No. No. Bikes? Maybe? Big, maybe. Nope. I don't know. What is it, ma'am? Oh, Katek. Alright, 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 alright. Y'all made the weird shit that's on my arm. Good deal, good deal, good deal. Okay, so that's Poketek. Doop, doop. Yeah, that's it. That's it. What the fuck is going on over there? First I have to get a bike, so y'all can just chill. Y'all can just chill. Or do we have to go? What the fuck do we have to do here? Okay, Jubilife, I'm here. What am I supposed to do here? Back to the school? Okay, probably not. Probably not what we're looking for here. Ooh, good night, Irene. Where am I supposed to go here? What am I supposed to do? I'm back. I'm here in Jubilife. Who needs me? Do I go here? Is this where my bikes are gonna be? Is this what I need to do? Is this what I need to do for a bike? What am I trying to do here? TV station? Or do I just need to... Do I need to go... Oh, okay, here we go. Here's the cutscene. Why was I so dumb? There was something obviously fucking happening. Must it be so difficult? Oh, all you must do is provide us with all of your research findings. In return, we'll see to it that your assistant doesn't become collateral damage. Yikes, creepy. A bowel cover? What the fuck? Okay, you. Presumptive? Of you? Who's your mom down with this? Team Galactic, what are you doing? Oh, we've got this. This is not even a problem. Come on. Yes. Yes. Not very effective, but it was still crit. Okay. What else am I supposed to do? Oofs. Lucas. Fear me. You need to evolve that starter, my bud. Losing your children? I don't know. It's just part of like being in the Pokemon universe. Did y'all not start this whole adventure as actual children? Is that what I'm inferring here? Because y'all lost to them? So... Alright. You leave us no option. We will retreat for now, because Team Galactic is benevolent to all. We shall leave. Okay, well, at least you're not, you know. So they call themselves Team Galactic, do they? When Pokemon evolve, they seem to release some sort of energy. I believe it's a mystic power. Far beyond our control, but Team Galactic seems to be trying to harness that power for something. Probably nothing good. Anyways, Zoe, well done. You battle quite capably. Of course I do. I know, yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Of course we're doing that. What are you talking about? Who the fuck are you? Look awfully scary, but you showed him. Phew, that was like a breath of fresh air. Oh, okay. BB. Yikes, BB. Hello. System administrator, you look like you're 4. You are the same age as me, madam. Pokemon boxes from anywhere. Thank you. Ball capsules. Ooh. Okay, bye, baby. Thank you so much for all of that. Barry went to Eterna. Alright. Eterna is up fucking there. Cool beans. Let's go. Okay. This is where we're at now. We're just here to fight our way through all these trainers, I guess. We have one Pokemon? I get that these guys are supposed to be like little tasters as we go, but like for cereal though. Goodbye. Goodbye. Probably not. I'll take your $4 though. Magikarp is a choice. It's a choice I made not that long ago. Oof. Big oofs. No, actually, sorry. Starly. Oof. This kid just whipped out a fish and a full-blown like bird, like a tiny little starling bird. I just let my fire monkey punch it in the face so hard it died. What is this game? What even is this? Oh my goodness. Okay. I think that's enough for me for tonight. I am running on very little sleep currently, so I think I need to go lay down and go to bed because I'm that. I need to use the sleep. Who have we got? Who have we got who's on right now? Let's see. Who have we got? Nope. Nope. We're just oh, I'm just gonna end because I gotta go to bed. So thank you so much for hanging out with me. Tomorrow we're gonna do some Stardew, and then Thursday is the Animal Crossing event. The Turkey Day event. It's not the event. I don't know why I said the in that way where it was like very impressive, because it's not actually. It's just the Turkey Day event. So we're gonna do the Turkey Day event after that. And then Friday, we're gonna be back here doing more like Diamond Check Pro. So I will see you all tomorrow. Same cursed time, same cursed place. Go sleep, because this is gonna take me a hot minute to get this Magikarp. Chris, you are still here. You were such a trooper. I was like not talking at all. So thank you so much for hanging out. I love you. Okay, good night. Bye.